let's talk a bit about some of the negative sentiments around, why people would pay a premium for a property as well. And I think the first and the foremost is a lot of competition, real estate agents playing their bluff, people throwing the towel in, believing what the real estate agent is saying. So, let's talk a bit about that.
Interestingly, what are some of the tips and tricks that the agents use to convince buyers to pay a premium?
Look, I mean, in a hot market, it's so hard to call a bluff. Like me as an experienced buyer's agent as well, right? It's very, very hard to call a bluff. Sometimes they would make up stories that, I have 10 offers or 15 offers. As an experienced buyer's agent or an experienced investor, your first and foremost duty is to ask as many questions as possible, because if they are bluffing, they would contradict somewhere, right? And so it's very, very important to catch those contradictions, right? I remember, and this is a really funny story. We were buying this property for a client where we knew that, the fair price for this property was all the way up to 570. And so we would have paid 570 for this property. But, knowing me and, and trying to squeeze a deal out of an agent, we were sticking our guns to 560, 565, right? And so our final offer was sitting at 560, and we thought we'll push it to 565 and basically close the deal. And so the agent said, look, I have another offer at 565. So if you don't go above that, you're going to lose the deal. And we've done a lot of due diligence. We knew what the bank valuation was, etc. And so we didn't call on the bluff, and we said, okay, let's call this at 566 and, close the deal. And so we did. But then, later that night, I was like, what if this guy was bluffing? What if, you always have these second thoughts, right? And so this is the game that we played with the agent, right? Next morning, I called up the agent and I said, I'm sending the valuer out. We are still in the due diligence clause. There is subject to finance in there. So if the valuation doesn't stack up, I pull out. And he's like, okay, that's fine. And I divvied up a desktop valuation of that property through a broker. And yes, this is not illegal. There is various ways you can get a valuation from the property. And I threw a valuation at him, which was $20,000 below the market, below the price that we were showing him.
Yeah.
And he looked at it and he's like, okay, let me go back to my vendor. And so he went back to his vendor, dropped the price down by 20K. And, we got that property at around, I think 540 or 545 or something. This is where the story gets really interesting. Our real valuer goes on site on Monday. And so this is Friday. And so he gets a call on Monday saying, hey, I'm the valuer for this property. I'm going to come in and visit this property. And that's where the agent realized that they have played the game better than the game that I was playing, right? And so he calls me and he said, this is not fair. You never did the valuation. Now I've reduced the price and your valuer is coming out. And I was like, no, I'm seeking another valuation. There's nothing wrong with that. I want to ensure that, the bank values it properly. And so the valuation came back fine at 445, and there was nothing wrong with it. It would have come out fine at 450, 445. It would have come out perfectly fine at 565 as well, because we knew that the bank would value this at 572. But it's about playing this game, right, and knowing your game to that level that you understand and realize where to squeeze, how to play in these hot markets,